Good morning, Bob Hall here with another sustainable farming video. Today, last night, about 5 o'clock, a little too late to plant, my trees came in. I ordered some more trees to put in the food forest, and I've got a couple peaches, myrtle plum, and a Lipin's cherry. All these trees are supposed to be good to zone 9. We're zone 8 here in Texas. So we're gonna plant them where I had all the garlic planted this year. There's no trees yet, and trees are vital to the survival of a food forest because just trees, about 90% of the sugars that they create through photosynthesis, they pump back into the ground to feed the life in the ground. So it's essential to have trees if you're going to grow anything else in a food forest. So that's what I'm going to show today. Plus I got a couple blueberries. I'll show you how to plant those without any dirt. And I want to update you right now on one of the cool things about aquaponics in regards to planting these trees. So as I go and plant these trees today, we're going to have to water, and I don't have any way of getting water out there except for hauling it. So I'm going to take advantage. Here is my aquaponics system, and it is mature, full of nutrients and all kinds of good stuff. I do add iron and potassium, so this is the best water you can possibly get. So I'm just going to fill up some containers, and when we go to water, we'll be using good, fertile, nutrient-rich water to get these trees started. And so if you've got an aquaponics system, that's a real advantage. Alright, we're here to plant the first tree. I'm going to plant 2 peach trees about 25 feet apart, and the other trees I'm going to plant at least 50 to 60 feet apart. The other thing we're going to do, another nice thing about aquaponics, is I just pulled up some comfrey plants, and we're going to put them on either side of this tree. The nice thing about comfrey is we've got a limestone shelf here, and so dirt's only anywhere from 1 foot to 4 foot deep, but the comfrey plants, they can go through that, and they put a taproot down about 100 feet, and they'll bring up trace minerals from the ground to help feed these trees. But that'll take some time, but we'll get things started. Go ahead, let's see if we can take this out of the pot.
You got it?
There we go. Now, the hole I dug, is it's not a nice round hole. It's kind of jagged because you want the roots to be able to go all around. You can see how the roots here are taking the shape of the pot, and so you kind of got to break them up some, disturb them, and just kind of like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You got to disturb these roots so that they'll want to grow around. Then you want to pack the dirt in real well, because air pockets in there can rot the roots. So you don't want to have any air pockets. And then we're going to go out about 5 feet, dig another little hole here.
Are you going to want another one of these peach?
Yeah.
Which one? Matter?
There's only one other peach. Anyway, put these about 5 feet or so from the tree, because as this tree grows, the rain line the way trees are, the leaves are designed to drip to the outside, because the tree will get all of its nutrients from the roots that are growing out the tree line. So as these branches grow out, they'll seek and be over here where all this comfrey is bringing in good minerals for them. The other nice thing about comfrey is it's so high in nitrogen. So as the leaves die off, or you can cut them, they provide nitrogen for your plants as well. So it's good to have comfrey in your garden. We'll get our aquaponic nutrient-rich water. By the way, whenever I build an aquaponic system for somebody, I always give them a couple jugs of water to take to inoculate their system to get it a jump start, because this has got all the beneficial bacteria and food to get the microbes and everything in the ground going too. So
You don't have to be very deep.
no. So if we don't get rain here in the next week or so, I'll come out and give them another dose of good water. All right, there we go. I won't film it, but that's what we'll do for the next 3 plants. We'll plant the tree and we'll put the comfrey on either side, and we'll start advancing this food forest swell and terrace into a viable food forest. All right, there we go. There's the last tree. We got 4 of them in, and the comfrey on either side. Can hardly tell with all the weeds, but got them from here down to there. Today I'm going to show you how to plant blueberries in Texas anyway. Around here our soil is around a pH of 8, and the water comes out of the well at about an 8.2. Blueberries, however, need a pH of around 4 or 5 to thrive. And so the only way we can grow blueberries here in Texas is to put them in some sort of container, and I've chosen to put them into wicking beds. And I wanted to show you these 3 plants. They're 2 years old, and this summer I got 6 pounds of blueberries off of these plants, and I have no dirt in these beds. I'll show you how wicking bed, how it works, and what I put in to get these guys to do so well. Okay, here is a wicking bed, and I use a 27-gallon tote that you can buy at any big box store, Lowe's, Home Depot, Costco, and you know, they're great little totes. Now I've had these. I wanted to know how well these would hold up. So far I've gone on 4 years with these, and they're still working fine. Now I paint the outside. They're black totes with a yellow lid. Don't need the lid, but I paint the outside white so that in the extreme heat of the summer, a lot of the heat won't be absorbed. It'll be repelled or reflected off, because plants, they sense the temperature through their roots, and if this is left black, it'll absorb so much heat in the summertime that most likely will kill anything you've got growing in here. So you want to paint them white, and I found enamel paint is the best to stick to plastic. So what we do is at the sorry about that, mosquitoes, at the 4-inch mark on the bottom, I drill a hole and put in just a piece of tubing, and then put rock 4 inches up on the bottom. We put this pipe in here. This is a 2-inch drain pipe, and it goes down, makes an elbow, and comes through the whole bed. And the bottom section, I drill a bunch of holes so that the water can be dispersed. And you just take the cap off, you use your garden hose or whatever, fill this up here until the water starts to trickle out the pipe that we put in, and we know that the reservoir is full. Then we put a weed barrier down on top of that rock so that when plants start to grow, the roots, they can't go into the rock and clog it all up, because you want that reservoir to remain clean. And the other thing, you can make these out of wood or anything, like, you know, almost any container, but you don't want to have more than 12 inches of media inside your wicking bed. Otherwise, after 12 inches, wicking doesn't occur as efficiently, and after a couple more inches, you're not going to get any wicking at all. But if you're within 12 inches of your reservoir, water will wick up just fine. So we put that weed barrier down, and then we can put in whatever media we want. And in this case, we're going to be planting blueberries, so we're not going to use dirt at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a 50% peat moss, 50% pine shavings, make that mix up, and I'm going to put it in here, and then we'll plant the plants. That's what I did with the 3 plants I just showed you, and they're thriving. They're doing very well. As I told you, our water is very high, around an 8.2 pH coming out of the ground. So with the pine, that helps to lower the pH when you water your plants. Now, when all possible, we try to water with rainwater, but the pH on rainwater is still around a 7, so it's still higher than blueberries like. So the pine helps to reduce that pH, and the plants will do very well. So I'll show you the mix and planting the blueberries, and we'll go from there. I've made up my mixture about 50-50, and you see the pine in there and the peat moss. One other thing I want to mention, if you have a aquaponics system like I do, and right now we don't have a real good method of capturing lots of rainwater, so I use aquaponic water when I water the blueberries, just like you saw me doing on the trees and other films when I first plant them. Aquaponics naturally has a tendency to lower pH in the system, and as you only add water occasionally, you don't ever change out the water, it's pretty good stuff to water with. Plus, again, it's got all the nutrients and bacterium and all that stuff that really helps the soil be fertile and productive. So it's another plug, I guess, for why it's good to have an aquaponics system, but if you don't, rainwater will work just fine. Alright, let's see about and being peat moss and stuff, this will settle some. I'll pack it down a little bit. The other thing about wicking beds too, I forgot to mention, is they've got to be level. Otherwise they won't wick properly. Now, you can set wicking beds right on the ground if it's level, but as you can see with my back, I can't, so I got them on cinder blocks, and it just is nice because now I can sit on a 5-gallon bucket and work while I'm sitting down, which is much easier on my back. So you don't have to do that, but it does have to be level. So here's my first blueberry. This is called a top hat blueberry. It's only going to get about 2 feet tall, but it's supposed to be very abundant in its fruiting. So I decided to try it, and I'm planting this one because, as you can see the sun on me, the sun comes up this way, so it'll get plenty of sun. And actually I've dug into my gravel beds in the aquaponics, and I actually had this sitting in the gravel bed, so it's nice and moist, it's happy, it's been getting plenty of good nutrient rich water. So anyway, that's not very hard. I'll stick this here, just it won't last, but now we just add water to the container. You can also water here. That's the beauty of these beds, is that, let's say like when Harvey was here a couple weeks ago, we got 5.5 inches of rain over a 50-hour period. It just slowly, steady rain, which is a great rain to have. But what happened in these wicking beds is, as it rained and the reservoir would fill up, any overflow would just flow out. So you're never going to get your top of your plant, your roots, sopping wet, because you can't wick up sopping wet, and any excessive rainwater will dissipate. So it's a great system to have. And I always tell people, because aquaponics is expensive to get into, no question, but if you want to get started in something that saves water, is easy to maintain, wicking beds are definitely the way to go. They're wonderful, they're easy to weed, and they take a lot less water than a conventional garden. So I'm going to go ahead and plant this one, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, there you go. We've got these two blueberry. By the way, this is a Tiff Blue. I've already got one of those. Great producer, grows great here. And this top hat I'm trying out, but both of these are supposed to grow up to zone 9. Again, we're zone 8, so not every blueberry plant will grow in zone 8. So whatever zone you're in, you definitely need to check and see and plant the species and varieties that will grow in your area. And I know some areas the pH in the ground is just fine and you can plant blueberries, but if you're in an area where you can't, putting them in a pot or a wicking bed or some other container and controlling the media that they grow in is a great way to go. Well, I hope this was enjoyable to you, and that maybe you learned something. I appreciate any comments you might give, and if you like what we're doing, please share us on Facebook and your other medias, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. We appreciate you watching.